I turned down a dream promotion overseas just to help my wife chase hers. But she spent her late nights at work in hotel rooms with her boss, a married man twice her age. Before watching the video, please tell us in the comments, which country are you watching from? My name is Ethan Walker, and I am 38 years old. When I first met Lauren, I believed I had finally found my forever. She was ambitious, confident, and warm. The kind of woman who made every man feel seen. We married young, built a home together, and dreamed of a future full of stability and love. For years, we were inseparable. She was my anchor, and I was hers, or so I thought. When her company promoted her to project manager, I couldn't have been prouder. She'd worked hard for it, and I supported her every step of the way. I even turned down a career opportunity in another city so she could stay near her new office. I told myself marriage meant sacrifice, and I didn't hesitate to make mine. At that time, I had no idea the same decision would one day haunt me. The first few months after her promotion were normal. She came home tired, talked about meetings, deadlines, and a new supervisor named Ryan Cole. She said he was strict but fair, someone who pushed her to be better. I listened proudly, thinking she was learning from a good mentor. I had no clue that the man she admired would soon become the one who destroyed our marriage. Slowly, little things began to change. Lauren's work hours stretched later into the night. "Just one more meeting," she'd say, smiling tiredly. I'd bring her dinner sometimes, leaving it on the table when she got home after midnight. I believed she was building her future, our future. But in reality, she was building walls between us, brick by brick, lie by lie. She started dressing differently, sharper, more polished. Her perfume changed too, stronger, something new. When I mentioned it, she laughed it off, saying it made her feel more professional. I wanted to believe her, so I did. I always did. Then came the late-night calls. I'd wake up to hear her whispering in the living room. When I asked who it was, she said, "A client in a different time zone." I didn't question it. I trusted her completely. That trust, blind, loyal, and pure, became the weapon she used against me. One night, I went to surprise her at work with her favorite coffee. But when I reached her office, the building was dark. Her car wasn't there. I called her, and she answered quickly, saying, "I'm still at work. It's just been crazy tonight." I remember standing in that empty parking lot, listening to her lie so effortlessly. It was the first time I felt something cold settle in my chest, the feeling of doubt. That moment changed everything. I didn't know it yet, but my life was about to break open in ways I couldn't imagine. The night started to stretch longer after that empty parking lot. Lauren's, over time, became more frequent, her excuses sharper, practiced like she'd rehearsed them in front of a mirror. Ryan's demanding, she'd say. We're under pressure to deliver. I wanted to believe her, but something in her tone didn't sound like pressure. It sounded like pleasure disguised as stress. She began locking her phone, something she'd never done before. When I asked why, she smiled, brushing off the question like it didn't matter. "Company policy," she said lightly. "Confidential projects." It was the kind of answer designed to end conversations, not invite them. And I let it. Because every time I thought about questioning her, guilt stopped me. I didn't want to be the jealous husband. I didn't want to seem controlling. I didn't realize I was letting her rewrite the rules of trust right in front of me. Her habits changed too. She started taking long showers when she got home, 20, 30 minutes at a time. The scent of that same strong perfume would linger afterward, drowning out the smell of the shampoo we used to share. She'd come out humming softly, acting tired but strangely content. Sometimes I'd catch her smiling at her phone before setting it face down. I told myself I was imagining things, that every suspicion was just insecurity. But lies have a way of speaking through silence. the way she avoided my eyes, the way she turned every question into a joke. It all told the truth she refused to say. One night, I tried to surprise her with dinner. She'd said she'd be home late again, but I decided to wait. I made her favorite pasta, lit a few candles, and sat on the couch watching the clock. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. She didn't show up until nearly 2 in the morning. Her makeup was smudged, her hair slightly messy, and she smelled faintly of wine. "Sorry," she said, setting down her bag. "Work dinner ran long." I forced a smile. "With who?" "Just the team," she answered quickly. Then she added, "Ryan insisted we stay and celebrate after landing a new contract." The name hit me harder than I expected. Ryan, the man she'd mentioned casually months ago. The man who seemed to live rent-free in her stories. I didn't reply. I just nodded, watching as she walked past me, her phone buzzing quietly in her bag. Later that night, when she was asleep, I sat alone in the dark. Her phone was on the nightstand, screen glowing faintly with a new message. I stared at it, heart pounding. My instincts screamed to pick it up, to confirm what I already knew deep down. But I didn't. I wasn't ready to face it yet. Because sometimes the truth hurts less when it's still hiding behind a lock screen. The first real crack in the illusion came from someone I least expected. It was a Thursday night when my phone rang. The caller ID showed a name I hadn't seen in months. David, one of Lauren's coworkers. His voice was uneasy, hesitant, almost like he was afraid to be heard. "Ethan," he said quietly, "I don't know if I should be saying this, but you deserve to know." My chest tightened. "Know what?" I asked, my voice low, steady, but my pulse pounding in my ears. He hesitated for a moment before answering. "People in the office are talking. Lauren and Ryan, something's going on. They think no one notices, but everyone does." The room went silent. I didn't even realize I'd stopped breathing. I asked him again, slower this time. "What exactly are you saying?" He sighed. "They've been staying late together almost every night. Closed doors, long trips, private lunches. I'm sorry, man, I just couldn't watch it anymore." I thanked him, trying to sound calm, but my voice cracked halfway through. When I hung up, the phone slipped from my hand. My legs went weak, and I sat on the edge of the bed staring into nothing. It felt like my world had tilted slightly, just enough to make everything I thought I knew start to slide away. For hours, I replayed every recent moment in my head. The missed calls, the locked phone, the new perfume, the way she flinched when I mentioned Ryan's name. It all connected now, perfectly, painfully. I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't paranoid. I was being played. That night when she came home, she greeted me with her usual soft smile. "Hey, you're still up," she said, setting her purse on the counter. I nodded, pretending to scroll through my phone. She poured herself a glass of wine, humming a tune under her breath. Her calmness made my skin crawl. "How was work?" I asked, forcing my voice to sound casual. "Busy," she said instantly. "You know how it is with deadlines." I smiled faintly. "Did Ryan help you with those deadlines?" She froze for a second, barely noticeable, but I saw it. Then she laughed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said quickly. "Just asking." She looked at me suspiciously for a moment, then shrugged and went upstairs. I sat there in the kitchen long after she'd gone, my heart pounding, the truth echoing inside my head. There was no denying it anymore. She wasn't just distant. She wasn't just tired. She was lying. That night, I made a quiet promise to myself I wouldn't confront her until I had proof, the kind of proof she couldn't twist into another excuse. I would wait, watch, and collect every truth she tried to bury. Because love might make you blind, but betrayal teaches you to see with perfect clarity. What would you do if someone you loved betrayed you like this? Comment below. A week later, Lauren announced she had to travel out of state for a business conference. Her tone was calm, casual, like she was reading from a script. "It's only for 5 days," she said, while zipping her suitcase. "Ryan and I are meeting the client in Chicago. It's important for the company." I nodded slowly, forcing a smile. On the outside, I looked supportive. Inside, I was boiling. The morning she left, I helped her load her luggage into the car. She kissed me on the cheek, whispered, "I'll miss you," and drove off. I stood there in the driveway, watching her taillights fade into the distance, knowing deep down that everything she'd just said was a lie. After she left, I went into the kitchen to clean up the breakfast dishes. That's when I saw it, a printed itinerary sitting half-hidden under a folder. It listed the hotel name, conference location, and schedule. Only one problem: the address didn't exist. I checked it online twice. No hotel, no conference. Just an empty office building that had been closed for renovation months ago. My stomach dropped. My hands trembled. For a moment, I hoped it was a typo, that there was another explanation. But my instincts told me the truth. She wasn't going to Chicago for work. She was going somewhere else, and with someone else. That night, I called the company's main office, pretending to be a client. "Could you connect me with the Chicago team?" I asked. The woman on the line sounded confused. "Sir, we don't have any meetings or conferences scheduled there this month." My chest tightened. It was over. The last layer of denial peeled away. I finally knew what I was dealing with. Betrayal, plain and cruel. I didn't call her that night. I didn't even text. I wanted her lies to build themselves higher so that when I knocked them down, the fall would hurt twice as much. Instead, I waited. I watched. I tracked her credit card transactions using our shared bank account. The first charge came from a hotel 30 miles away. Not Chicago, not even close. The next day I drove there. I parked across the street, watching the entrance through the windshield. Around 8:30 that evening, I saw her. She stepped out of a black car, laughing. Ryan followed her, his hand brushing against her back as they walked inside together. My heart cracked, but didn't break. I'd already lost her. I just hadn't accepted it until that moment. I sat there for hours, staring at that hotel, watching the lights flicker behind the curtains of their room. I didn't storm in. I didn't make a scene. I just watched, silent, calm, and deliberate. Because I wasn't looking for revenge that night. I was gathering evidence for the truth. The truth that would one day make her world collapse exactly the way she made mine. The next few days were the longest of my life. Every text, every call, every excuse from Lauren now sounded hollow. She returned from her so-called business trip with a fake smile and a souvenir mug, pretending everything was normal. I didn't say a word. I played along, patient and quiet. Inside, though, I was already planning what came next. 2 nights later, she said she needed to stay late at the office to finish reports. That was all I needed to hear. I told her to take her time, kissed her on the cheek, and watched her drive away. The moment her car disappeared down the street, I grabbed my keys and followed. It was nearly 9 p.m. when I parked across from her office building. The lot was half empty, the glow of a few windows flickering against the dark. Her car was there, parked close to the entrance. My chest tightened as I sat in the shadows, engine off, watching. At first, nothing happened. I started to wonder if maybe I'd made a mistake. Then I saw it, the silhouette of 2 people moving inside her office. One of them was clearly her. I knew her outline anywhere. The other was taller, broader. Ryan. My jaw clenched as I stared through the window. They were laughing, wine glasses in hand. He leaned in, said something that made her smile, and she placed a hand on his chest. That tiny gesture, so casual, so intimate, cut deeper than any argument ever could. I wanted to burst through those doors and make them both face me. But I didn't. Not yet. I needed to be smart, not impulsive. So I reached for my phone and hit record. Through that office window, I captured everything. Her laughter, his touch, their betrayal. Every detail became evidence. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that the woman I loved was gone long before I realized it. An hour passed before the lights went out. I watched them walk out together, her hand brushing his arm, their smiles soft and unashamed. She didn't even glance around, didn't even imagine that the man sitting in the car across the street could see everything. That was the moment I knew something inside me had changed forever. When I drove home, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. The pain was too deep for noise. I sat in silence, staring at the dark windshield, the reflection of my own hollow eyes staring back. Love had died quietly that night, without fireworks, without closure. As I walked into our house later, the faint smell of her perfume still lingered in the hallway. It used to make me smile. Now it made me sick. I looked around at the photos on the wall. Two faces smiling, holding hands, pretending to be forever. I realized then that the hardest part wasn't losing her. It was realizing she was never really mine to begin with. After that night at her office, I didn't sleep for days. Every image replayed in my head, her smile, his touch, their laughter. But pain eventually turned into focus. I wasn't going to scream or beg. I wasn't going to confront her with emotion. I was going to confront her with truth and make sure the world saw it too. I started gathering everything I had, the photos, the credit card transactions, the messages she left open on her laptop by accident. I saved each one carefully, like pieces of a puzzle that spelled out her betrayal. It wasn't about humiliation anymore. It was about justice, the kind that doesn't need shouting, just exposure. Lauren worked for a company that prided itself on ethics, image, and trust. Ryan was her boss, a man known for giving lectures about professional integrity. So I decided to let their own hypocrisy destroy them. Quietly, precisely, completely. One morning, while she was in the shower, I sat at her desk and opened her work email. It didn't take long. Dozens of messages between her and Ryan, each one more personal than the last. Some were disguised as work discussions, others weren't even trying to hide it anymore. I copied them all onto a flash drive and sent the most incriminating ones directly to Ryan's wife, along with screenshots of the hotel invoices. By the next day, it began. I didn't need to do anything else. Ryan's wife went straight to the company's HR department. From there, everything snowballed. Anonymous complaints, internal investigations, whispers spreading like wildfire. By noon, half the office knew about the affair. That evening, Lauren came home shaking. Her eyes were red, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Someone sent those emails to the company," she said. "Ryan's suspended. They think I'm involved." I stayed silent, just listening. She kept talking, rambling about rumors, about how people were turning against her. "They're saying things that aren't true," she cried. "I don't even know who's behind this." I looked at her then, really looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger who'd used me as a stepping stone, who'd traded love for attention. "Maybe it's karma," I said quietly. Her face went pale. What do you mean? Maybe this is the universe reminding you that lies don't stay buried forever. She stared at me for a long time, searching for guilt in my eyes, but found only peace. Because when you've been broken enough, the truth stops hurting. It becomes power. That night, she slept on the couch. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the faintest sense of relief for the first time in months. The chaos had finally begun, and this time, it wasn't mine to endure. It was hers. If you were in my place, would you forgive or walk away? Tell me in comments. The morning after her breakdown, Lauren barely looked at me. Her eyes were swollen, her movements slow, like she was walking through fog. She tried to speak over breakfast, but the words came out in fragments. "You knew, didn't you?" she whispered. "You're the one who sent those emails." I didn't deny it. I didn't even blink. "I just showed people the truth," I said calmly. "You wrote the rest yourself." Her lip trembled. "You've ruined my career, Ethan. Do you understand what you've done?" I set my coffee cup down, my voice steady. "No, Lauren. You ruined our marriage. I just stopped protecting your lies." She stood up abruptly, pacing the kitchen like a trapped animal. "It wasn't serious," she insisted. "It was a mistake. Ryan meant nothing to me." I almost laughed. "Mistake," said softly. "You planned weekends away, lied about conferences, and spent months choosing him over me. That's not a mistake, Lauren. That's a decision you made every single day." Tears rolled down her cheeks, but I didn't feel sympathy anymore. I had felt it all before. Heartbreak, confusion, betrayal. Now, all that was left was clarity. She reached for my arm, desperate. "We can fix this," she said. "Please, I'll quit my job. We can start over." I looked down at her hand on my sleeve. The same hand that had once comforted me after long days. The same hand that had written love notes, and then secret messages to another man. I gently pulled away. "There's no fixing something that was never real," I said quietly. "You stopped loving me long before I stopped trusting you." She broke down completely, sinking to the floor, sobbing. For a brief second, a part of me, the part that still remembered who she used to be, wanted to help her up. But then I remembered every night she'd come home lying to my face, every "I love you" that was just a cover for deceit. I turned away, walking to the bedroom to pack my things. My hands were steady as I folded each shirt, each memory. She followed me, crying harder now. "Ethan, please, don't go. You're all I have left." I zipped the suitcase and looked at her one final time. "You had me," I said, "and you threw me away." As I walked out the door, she called after me, her voice cracking, her words blending into sobs. But I didn't look back. Some goodbyes are meant to be silent. Some endings don't need closure, they need distance. That day, I didn't just leave my home. I left the version of myself that tolerated lies, that loved blindly, that forgave too easily. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. Outside the sun was bright, the air sharp with the scent of rain. For the first time in months, the world felt real again. 3 months passed after I left. I hadn't seen or spoken to Lauren since that final day. The silence between us was permanent. Not the cold kind that lingers after a fight, but the peaceful kind that follows a storm. I'd moved into a small apartment on the edge of town, just me, a couch, and the quiet hum of a new beginning. At first, it felt strange waking up alone. I still reached for the empty side of the bed out of habit, only to be met with nothing but cool sheets. But eventually, I learned to fill that emptiness with purpose. I started running every morning, working late by choice this time, and spending weekends fixing things around my new place. Each small task rebuilt a part of me she had broken. One morning, while scrolling through my phone, I saw a headline that stopped me cold. Regional manager fired after workplace scandal. The photo beneath it showed Ryan Cole, the same man my wife had thrown everything away for. His company had terminated him after an investigation confirmed misconduct. His wife had divorced him. His reputation was gone. And as for Lauren, she'd been named in the same report. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. A week later, I ran into a mutual friend at the grocery store. He hesitated before speaking. "She's not doing well, Ethan," he said quietly. "Lost her job, moved back in with her parents. She keeps saying she wishes she could take it all back." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. Choices have consequences, and hers had finally caught up to her. Karma didn't need my help. It handled everything with perfect timing. That night, I stood on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker. For the first time in a long time, I felt light, like I'd shed every weight that had been holding me down. I realized then that revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about release. The goal was never to make her suffer. It was to make myself whole again. A few days later, an envelope appeared at my door. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. Inside was a short note from Lauren. She said she was sorry, that she missed me, that she hoped I'd find happiness. I folded the letter neatly and threw it into the trash without reading it twice. Some apologies are just words, and some wounds don't deserve reopening. As months passed, my life found rhythm again. I met new people, laughed more often, and learned that forgiveness isn't about them. It's about freeing yourself. Lauren had her karma, and I had my peace. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't watching them fall. It's rising so high they can't even see you anymore. This is how my wife betrayed me. Should I forgive or move on? Tell me in comments. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. More real stories are on the way.